The 11th edition of Warhammer 40k is just around the corner. So, what's next for Necrons? 10th edition has been awesome for Necron players. We have had loads of fun. We've been blessed. We got new lore, we got loads of fantastic new minis, and we got some great detachments enabling us to try out lots of different playstyles. But 11th edition is almost upon us, and I want to talk about what we can expect from that and also some guesses or predictions about what we might see. So warning up front, this video will contain some rumours. So if you don't like that, look away now. Yes, I'm looking at you, Stainsby. In this video, we're going to look at rules, playstyles, minis and lore, looking back at what we've received and how that can indicate what we might get in 11th edition. Let's start with the rules. Now, we got the third codex of 10th edition. It was the first codex after the two starter set factions, which were Tyranids and Space Marines. And the rumour is that we're going to get an early codex in 11th edition. Why should we get another early codex? Necrons are hugely popular. We were the poster boy villains of 9th edition, so we were the equivalent of Tyranids in 9th edition. And there was a box set called the Indomitus box, where you got loads of Necrons at a great discount. Now, this hit at the same time as the COVID lockdowns, and that was when a lot of us got back in the hobby, and that meant Indomitus sold like hotcakes. So guess what? There's a massive installed Necron player base. Even though we're getting an early codex, you will still be able to play 11th edition as soon as it drops. And that is because your 10th edition codex is still valid. In my opinion, this edition will follow the 8th to 9th edition pattern. Let me explain. In 8th edition, we had major rules changes, we had a hard reset of every faction, and we got what's commonly called index hammer. So at the start of the edition, every faction had an index you could all play straight out of the gate. 9th edition was more like a rollover edition, so you got some rules tweaks, but your 8th edition codex was still valid until your 9th edition codex dropped. I believe that we're in the same pattern here, so that 10th edition to 11th will follow the same pattern of 8th to 9th. In terms of play styles, we've had a huge amount of variety in playability, and that's not something that every faction can say. Some factions have been kind of locked to one list for most of this edition, which is boring, let's be honest, but we've had that variety you need to keep the game fresh. We've also had a bunch of detachments. We got 5 in the codex, and then we got a Grotmus detachment, which was the incredible Starshatter Arsenal. This was really strong when it was launched. It got nerfed, but it's still pretty good. In addition, we then got 3 more detachments in the 500 Worlds campaign. Cryptek Conclave, Cursed Legion, and of course the infamous Pantheon of Woe. It's been bringing woe to a lot of opposition players. So as I said, we've had loads of variation, and for me, I believe that's great for the competitive scene, but also for casual players. It's kept the game nice and fresh and interesting. It's given us more ways to play. That's all we can ask for as a player base. Sticking with rules, we also got some new data sheets. The Catan all got a huge glow up. They've had a little nerf, but I think they're still brilliant. And my theory remains that these are 11th edition data sheets that are playing in 10th, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We also got the incredible Necrosaur Amintar, and for me this has changed our playstyle because it has fights first. That is the first unit in the Necron Codex to have the fights first ability, and that opens up some new tactics to us that we were sorely lacking in my opinion. Are they the first 11th edition data sheets? Well, they're certainly stronger than the original 10th edition ones, that's for sure, and that is a typical tactic of GW. They need to make the 11th edition codex stronger than the 10th edition codex to incentivize you to buy it. So if you've been in the game for a while, you will know what this is called. It's called codex creep, and I think it is going to be firmly back. We saw this massively from 8th edition to 9th edition. 9th edition codexes grew stronger throughout that edition. There was a lot of codex creep. On the same theme though, I do have a concern or a fear that maybe those 500 Worlds detachments are the first 11th edition detachments in 40k. It follows that same theory about strength, So Cryptek Conclave is much better than Canoptek Court. I know they're not identical, but it is a lot stronger. And absolutely, Cursed Legion wipes the floor with Annihilation Legion. It is much, much better. You might be thinking, well, why would they have those detachments ready? But if we are an early codex, that codex will already have been written. So it could be those 500 Worlds detachments were simply lifted out of our early edition codex. If that's the case, it might not be, but if it is, hopefully we get at least 3 more detachments in our book. And my hopes, I mean, I could have picked 6 here, but 3 that I would like to see. The first one is Silver Tide. Bring back warrior spam. I want to be able to whack 60 warriors on the board, and I want to have loads of fun with them. I'd also like to see a detachment more focused around the Silent King. I think they tried this with the Byzant's Phalanx, but actually the Silent King ended up being strongest in Star Shatter. So a proper detachment for the Silent King would be great. And last but not least is Acquisition Phalanx, which would be led by Trazyn and his Lich Guard. I'll come on to Trazyn a little bit later, so stay tuned for that one. While this video is going to be largely upbeat, I do have another concern here, and that is that Legends might be going to disappear. So those units that went to Legends might simply not make it into the Codex at all. The rumour is that GW is debating this at design studio level at the moment, and it would have a big impact on Necrons if we lost those Legends units, but I must stress it's not confirmed yet, it's just a rumour. So looking first at Forge World, at the beautiful big stuff, this would mean losing things like the Gauss Pylons, the Night Shroud Bomber, and of course the creepy crawly Tomb Sentinel. I saw someone actually playing 2 of these in a competitive 40k game at my club, the West Allotment Wildlings, last weekend. I don't know who you were, drop me a message because I think you're an absolute legend for playing Legends. The flip side of that worry is there is a very strong rumour that we are going to get a Seraptech heavy construct in plastic. This, for me, is why this was not put into Legends, because it's not going to go away. It's going to be reborn in plastic. Thank goodness, because if you're anything like me, you hate working in resin. Unfortunately, though, I do think the rest of them are probably going to be cut from the range. There's also a chance we're going to lose some characters as well, because there's some of those in Legends, and again, stay tuned for that. We'll talk about that in a little while. Before that, let's talk a bit about some of the minis we did get, and I want to kick off with the Tomb World terrain. I know this is not specifically 40k, it's in the 40k universe, but it is a beautiful set. It is compatible with 2 game systems, so you can play it with boarding actions, which is a nice light pickup way to play 40k, 250 or 500 points aside. Great fun, definitely give it a go. And obviously it's intended for kill team. I've played on this kill team terrain with my pal Lee. He gave me an intro game to kill team on it, and it was great fun. So definitely try that as well if you can. Along with the Tomb World terrain, we also got the fantastic Canoptek Circle kill team. I really love these models, especially because this saw the return of the Geomancer. This is the 5th Cryptek. It hasn't been a playable unit for loads of editions. I want to say since 5th or maybe 6th. It's a long time anyway. Let me know in the comments if you know the exact edition. Now, the Geomancer is probably slightly too many points. It's a really interesting datasheet, but I'm struggling to use it. I know some of you are making it work. Again, let me know in the comments how you're doing that. But we also got the Macrocytes. Far too expensive. Nobody's using those. Please fix them, GW. Last but definitely not least is the Tomb Crawlers. These are seeing use in a lot of Necron lists, especially if you're running Awakened Dynasty like me. They are fantastic for adding into a warrior brick for those extra ablative wounds. The biggest release probably of the entire edition though was the new Nightbringer. People have been waiting for this for a long time, basically since the Void Dragon came out. And I'm pleased to say there is also a big rumour that we're going to get a new Deceiver as well. That's right, it's going to be a glow up for the Deceiver, so that will be in plastic and be a similar size to the Nightbringer and the Void Dragon. The rumour is it was done at the same time, it was designed at the same time as the Nightbringer, so hopefully we'll see that soon. The other one that a lot of players have called for is the Transcendent Catan to be sold separately from the Tesseract Vault. I would love to see this, but my prediction is this is not a priority for Games Workshop. Hope they prove me wrong, but I'm not expecting this anytime soon. The other big release, and this certainly caught me by surprise, was Necrosaur Amintar. What a fantastic model. I love having it on the tabletop. It's brilliant in all my games. On the Destroyer side, though, we do still need a new Locust Lord and potentially a new Locust Destroyer model. Now, those two might still be intertwined because the old Locust Lord was basically just a conversion of a Locust Destroyer. I don't think they'll do that again. I think we would get separate models, but those are definitely still on my wish list and also the wish list of a lot of other Necron players. Going back a little further, right to the beginning of the edition, or when we got our codex actually, we got one of the most iconic Necron characters in our pantheon, Orican the Diviner. But the question remains, why did they launch Orican on his own, and where is Trazyn? These two are inextricably linked. They are the two protagonists in The Infinite and the Divine, which is one of the best Black Library novels in my opinion. If you haven't read it, go and check it out. Now, I do have a theory as to what happened to Trazyn. I think we almost got him. It's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I'm going to share it with you. Let me know what you think in the comments. So you might remember, pretty much at the same time that Orican came out, we got another mini, which was the Overlord with the Translocation Shroud. I think this sculpt was meant to be Trazyn. Trazyn has a piece of war gear, if you like, called the Time Splitter Cloak. And I believe this shroud was meant to be the Time Splitter Cloak. I think GW decided it didn't quite like the sculpt, that maybe it was a bit too serious for Trazyn, and so we got the Shroud Lord instead. That's my theory. What do you think of it? Also, on top of that, there has been rumours persistently throughout this edition that they have got a new sculpt for Trazyn, and we will be getting it. It hasn't materialised yet. We can only keep our fingers crossed that it's going to crop up early in the next edition. Another character that we did get, however, was Imhotep the Stormlord. I love this one again. He's a great addition to a lot of lists, especially in detachments where you need a lot of CP, where the strats are good, because he's a CP farmer. He gives you an extra CP every battle round. Unfortunately, however, he and Orican were pretty much the only two new characters, named characters, that came back. Lots went to Legends. Two of my favourites which disappeared are Nemesaur Zandrek and Vargard Oberon. Again, they're an amazing double act. There's a brilliant short story about them, which I'll talk about in a minute. But they were resin miniatures, fine cast miniatures, and we've never had a plastic set of these. They were last seen in a novella, which is basically like a short novel called Severed, which was published in 2019. So we haven't really had a lot of lore about them either, which is never a good sign in my opinion. But it's a brilliant book. Again, you can find this one. It is in the Twice Dead King Omnibus, which was published last year. So you get both the Twice Dead King books, and then you get this and a couple of other short stories. It's an absolute bargain. Go and buy it. Another fan favourite is Anrakir the Traveller. Now, he was mentioned in the Tomb World book, which came out last year. He's not technically in it, but he is talked about as one of the characters. So could this be a sign that he is coming back? And whatever happens with these characters, all is not lost. You can now create your own custom characters thanks to the Crucible of Champions book, which came out as part of the Maelstrom campaign set. So if you really want to recreate these for your casual games, you can do that still. But let's keep our fingers crossed that they do eventually get a plastic reboot. Looking at the lore, let's start again with the Necrosaur. It has been described as the origin, the genesis of the Destroyer cult. Now, a lot of that is still shrouded in mystery, so I'm very hopeful we're going to get more to come here. I would love to see some Black Library lore come out about this. The Black Library has also been kind to us during this edition. One of my favourites is Gene Father, which was written by Guy Haley and published in 2023. And this features Necron Chronomancer, whose name is Asenath Ayu. And there are some great scenes between her and Belisarius Cawl. Highly recommend reading it if you haven't read it already. But my favourite by far was Tomb World. This was written by Jonathan D. Beer and came out last year, 2025. and this features a Triarch Praetorian called Kemet as the main protagonist. Now, Triarch Praetorians still don't have a leader datasheet. There is no character that leads Triarch Praetorians, and I would love to see a new leader unit emerge in 11th edition, and if it was Kemet, I would be very happy. As mentioned before, we also got the Twice Dead King Omnibus Edition late in 2025, written by the awesome Nate Crowley. Now, there will be spoilers when I'm talking about this if you haven't read it, so you skip this piece because you do not want this to be spoiled. It's such a good story. The Twice Dead King books are a pair of books that chart the rise of Altix. He is an overlord who ultimately becomes Valgul, the Flayer King, like the king of the Flayed Ones. Again, Flayed Ones don't have a character that leads them. They kind of got a little bit sidelined towards the end of this edition because they're not really involved in Cursed Legion because that's a different thing. The Flayer virus is different to the Destroyer Curse. But I would love to see Valgul in the game. Yes, please, GW, make it happen. So to summarise, it looks to me like we're going to get an early codex. We're definitely going to get more minis. My prediction is that most of those are going to be characters. But GW surprised us in 10th edition, and I'm sure there'll be some more surprises up its sleeve in 11th. And we're definitely going to get more ways to play Necrons. I'm really, really looking forward to getting an early edition codex. There are drawbacks to getting an early edition codex because of codex creep. So if your codex comes out towards the start of an edition, if the codexes that follow are subsequently and incrementally more powerful, by the end of that edition, you are pretty weak. That's exactly what happened to Necrons in 9th, but in 10th edition they introduced the quarterly balanced data slate. They are much, much more reactive and better at balancing the game. So I'm less worried about codex creep than I was, and therefore more excited about an early codex. If you're planning on buying some more Necrons to celebrate the end of the edition, and you live in the UK, please go and buy them from Loaded Dice. It's an award-winning local gaming store, and I will put an affiliate link in the comments. They've got some great discounts on Necrons. They've even got some pretty cool Necron bundles, well worth checking out. All that's left to do now is to thank my Patreon and channel members. At elite level, we have Adam Fortier 1247, Castor, Chris Raven 932, David Lloyd, Living Dead Girl 40k, My Man Northern Realms, Robbie Ricks, Slayer Miniatures, Varity 6253 and Varity. At leader level, we have High Peanut 9784. He's an active member of our Discord. It's free to join the Discord. Again, I'll put a link in the comments. Come over and say hello. He's also joined by Colin Nicol. Thank you so much, Colin. Stainsby Kingsby. Sorry about the spoilers, Stainsby. David Pooley, who is Dave Hammer on Instagram. And Stephen Ramsey. Stephen is the King of the North. He's the King Beyond the Wall, King of the West Allotment Wildlings, and a lovely guy. Thank you, Stephen. And at Epic Hero level, we have two absolute heroes, which are Morton Monks of Roller and Sovolf. You are both greatly appreciated. So there you have it. That's my predictions and the rumours wrapped up for what we can expect in 11th edition. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll be back soon with another video.